Me this morning that we have some wildfires I had absolutely no knowledge of. I've learned that over 200,000 people are at the evacuate their homes. So, I just want to say that our thoughts and prayers are out for the people in L.A. County and the first responders, and I hope that gets better real soon.
You said that before. Is that how insulated you are during a season where it's like you just kind of have no idea what's going on?
Like I can get from my house to here. If you close 4 or 5, I wouldn't even know how to get to work. So yeah, once I get here and get home, I'm sleeping. I get here, I'm working 18 hours a day. So it's pretty insulated. Yeah.
Coach, Cleveland allowed one touchdown last week. You allowed you guys one touchdown last week, but now you're facing a Washington team that's 30th in the league in points allowed. Do you feel like this could kind of jumpstart your offense this week as far as getting into the end zone?
No, I feel like the offense was doing well in the red zone up until last week. We missed out on an opportunity with Phillip and Keenan, and then they made some adjustments that threw us off a little bit, and maybe we didn't adjust quite quick enough. But I like the fact that we're getting in the red zone, which means that we have opportunity to get points. But we definitely have to have a better red zone performance than we had last week, and I believe we will.
You guys have worked on, like you said, about adjustments, especially them coming into this week with Washington.
Yeah, I mean, they've had 3 extra days to prepare for us, so I'm sure they're going to have some things that we haven't seen. We just have to make those adjustments a little sooner. But for the most part, it's just making plays down there, counting your playmakers to make plays. And we had some opportunities. We just didn't make those plays.
You came here with an emphasis on the running game. It's pretty clear the passing game has fueled these last 3 wins. Was there a point in November where maybe you had to acknowledge that passing first would be a better route? And if so, how do you sort of reconcile
Well, I mean, when you look at our season, we've been passing first all year. I mean, you look at the opening game in Denver, I think we had 18 rushes. You look at Miami, we had 10 call runs. You look at Philadelphia, we had 14 rushes. We've been passing the ball all year. We're just doing a better job passing the ball. We're getting the ball to our playmakers, and we're just executing. The pass protection up front, Pat Myers, he's done an outstanding job with the offensive line and pass protection. And so we're keeping Phillip on 2 feet, keeping him clean, and he's just doing a nice job delivering the ball. And, I mean, no turnovers in the last 3 weeks, knock on wood. But I think we're just executing better. And we're finding out what we do best. And having Keenan for a whole season now, being here with him, it has helped. Him staying healthy.
You mentioned Keenan being healthy. When you came here, health was obviously a huge priority for this football team. How much of the success you guys have had keeping guys on the football field do you kind of put towards the changes you guys made in the offseason, and how much of it is just kind of good luck?
I don't know how much of it is good luck. It all could be, I don't know, but we definitely made some changes in how we were going to perform in the off season as far as our conditioning program, our training group. They made some changes. We brought in some people to assist in injury prevention and flexibility and things like that. So we've put a big emphasis on staying healthy this year, and so far it's paying off.
Early in the year, you had obviously Forrest Lamp goes down, Denzel gets hurt, Barrett gets hurt. Was there a time in your mind where like, oh, here we go, it's going to be one of those years?
No, not really, because those injuries happen every year on every team. You're going to have some of those, and it was just unfortunate we lost those guys early. But that's part of the process. That's part of the deal.
How much of your guys' success do you put towards how healthy this team has been?
I think the players buying in, taking better care of themselves, getting in better shape, and some of the changes we made in all season were different. And like I said, they bought in, they did it, and so far it's paying off.
Anthony, what is Coach Myers doing with the offensive line so that when you get to game days, they're able to execute it at a high level? And then the second question is the assessment of Russell, including his influence with that group.
Russell, he is a pro. So having Russell on that offensive line and doing the things that he's doing at left tackle, that helps a lot. But I was with Pat for the last couple of years in Buffalo, and I love the way our protection schemes, and keeping the quarterback on his feet and not throwing hot all the time. And getting that communication is a process. It's a lot of work throughout the week. And his techniques in jumping on pass rushers and how we stop them is pretty good. I think that's pretty obvious. But, yeah, we have improved in that area. I think we're number 1 in the league when it comes to the least amount of sacks. We need to continue to improve in the run efficiency. I love the fact that the rush attempts are up. When the rush attempts went up, that's when we started winning. If you look at the last 8 games, 6 out of 8, we've outrushed our opponents. Okay, but the run efficiency is not where we need it, and that's where we need to continue to improve and be more detailed.
Was there a time this season where you had to figure out kind of the right balance in terms of running back touches, and is that the right formula now with Melvin and Austin?
No, we knew that formula going into the season. What that should be. We just, for whatever reason, early on, we weren't getting enough touches early. Like I said, I've never gone into a game and called 10 runs, but we were moving the ball so well. And I think it's a catch-22 because when you get a quarterback like Phillip and you can distribute the ball through the air and move it down the field well, there's a tendency to, hey, let's just stay with that. But, I mean, any coach in this league will tell you have to be a balanced attack. You have to make a defense defend 3 offenses. If they can just know what you're going to be in, and if you're that predictable, eventually they will shut you down. And so now that the rush attempts are going up and people are having to defend the run, I think it's making it easier on our offense. It's definitely made us more balanced, and I think that's why we're having more success.
Coach, is Hunter Henry going to practice today?
Hunter Henry will practice today. He'll be limited, but he will practice.
Are you guys expecting to have Mike at all this week?
Well, we would like to have Mike. He's going to be day to day. He made some big time improvements from last week to this week, and yesterday he looked good in rehab.
But he won't practice today, then?
He'll be limited.
Oh.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Okay.
How are we doing today? Good.
You guys haven't had a lot of injuries, I guess, kind of
We had some early.
early, yeah. But how important is it? I mean, the offense is a group that's grown and grown. How important is continuity in having pretty much the same guys on the field every week? How big of a part is that?
Well, I think it's a big part of it because you can build off of things that you've done before. When you've got guys that have been doing it for a couple of weeks, and you say, hey, remember when we did this? Let's instead of doing that, let's do this. You want to kind of work things together to build off of it. It helps when you've got guys that have been around doing it. It's easy to say, well, you watched it on tape, you saw them do it in practice, but it's not the same as when you have those same guys. And that, I think it gives you a little bit of flexibility because you can move guys around just because they have a basis in doing a lot of different things.
And how much input does sort of Phillip have on the offense as a whole and play calling? And was there a point maybe the last month or so where that role increased based on what he was either feeling or seeing out there?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, but I mean, we always talk about what we're doing game plan wise. That's a back and forth discussion every day, day in and day out. When we put the plan in, obviously he comes in, we talk about it, and as we go forward, we continue to. There's a lot of times where things we don't like that are out, or things that we put in later in the week that we like, and I'm not talking about just Phillip. I'm talking about our whole group. I think that's what's important because we've got a lot of good coaches. We got some players like Kellen Clemens, who's been around, who's seen a lot, who also has input, and you got some guys too that are very smart, like Antonio, who's been around and seen some things. So to me, it's always been give and take from everybody.
Coach, what kind of influence has Pat Myers had on the offensive line and protection that Phillip has gotten this season?
Pat's done a great job with our guys, and I hadn't really known Pat. I tried to get with him before years ago, and they wouldn't let him out of Chicago when he was there, and so I was excited when we had the chance to get him here this year because I've known Pat, but I haven't really worked with him before. But his basis in what he wants to do, and especially from the standpoint of protections and that kind of area, he has done a really good job with that.
Is he unique in terms of his approach? Is it different than other offensive line coaches you have?
Well, I think those guys, by and large, offensive line coaches are unique in general. I've worked with a few unique ones, like Russ Grimm was obviously a very good line coach and a good friend of mine who was unique. But, the one thing that I've seen about those guys, they're very passionate about their trade and how they work at it, and Pat certainly falls into that category.
Coach, Ryan Kerrigan maybe doesn't get the national attention he should for a guy who gets near double-digit sacks every year. What is it about him that makes him so effective?
He plays hard every snap, down in and down out. He is what, to me, when you talk about what a pro is, and I don't know him, I've studied him over the years and watched him play, played against him a few times, just the way he prepares, the way he plays down in and down out, and how he goes about his business, you can tell. I mean, the guy is a true pro, and he's very effective at what he does.
with in terms of the running game, with Ekeler kind of playing more of a role there, how much does that help you create balance with Melvin and his touches, and then the passing game, getting those guys involved there? Has that been more of an emphasis lately?
Well, Eric, I think we talked about this a little bit last year about Melvin and how many snaps Melvin ended up having to take last year. And we were worried about that because he carried us. And then when he got hurt in week 12, it hurt us down the stretch. So having Austin come along has really helped us because he can take some of that off of Melvin. And then you also like the ability that he's shown, especially in some of those situational things, whether it's a play where we've got both he and Melvin on the field at the same time, or even some of the past things that he's been able to do for us. The double move against Dallas down the sideline has been a real advantage, a real bonus for us offensively. And I think, what you like to see with young players like that is them earn their way into more plays. I mean, you can't ignore the fact that he's done some good things for us, but he's got to earn that. You can't just say, okay, here, you're going to do it. So I think we have a pretty good balance between he and Mel, and that's helped us. And I think as far as incorporating those guys in the past, it's going to change from week to week. A lot of it's dependent upon what the opponent's doing. We tried to design some things for both of those guys. I mean, the touchdown pass to Melvin at New York against the Giants, where he came underneath, that was a design play to go to Melvin. He has his share, as so does Austin, but you can't do too much because then Keenan and Hunter and some of those other guys are going to want their touches too.
What do you like about both of those guys being on the field at the same time?
Well, it's just another thing that a defense has to prepare for. It's great to say, hey, let's put them both on the field. But if you do that, then you better be effective with what you're trying to do. That has to be part of it. We had a little package last week with both of them on the field, and we had a couple of different plays out of it. We missed one. Austin dropped a little swing that might have been and I don't know, what happened with the sun. Look, the sun was kind of caught it in the corner of the stadium where he lost it for a second. But those are extra things that can help you as far as going forward from a standpoint of other teams having to prepare for that. But once again, I go back to say you have to be effective with that. It's not something you can say, okay, let's just put them out there, and you got to put them in a situation where other teams are aware of it and have to prepare for it.
Did you know he would be as good a compliment back?
Austin?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I knew back when he was in Western. Where did he go to school? No. I think I've said this before about Austin. I think what you really like. To me, the great side of pro football is when you see a young man like Austin who you didn't know a lot about, who came in here. I still remember the rookie minicamp when he came in, and like, who is this guy? And he just wanted to learn. He just wanted to get better. And then over the course of time, you've seen him do just that. And it's exciting to see him make some plays and see him grow as a player. And that's been a big part of the reason that we've been able to do some good things is because of that.
It wasn't a thing where you saw him in rookie minicamp and you're like, oh, wow. It was more gradual than that?
Yeah, it wasn't until about, I'd say, a couple weeks into training camp where he really showed up. And I think, I've also said this before, I think there was one play when we were practicing against the Saints, and we were down in the red zone, and we threw him a pass. And it was a pass where he was out of the backfield, and he was matched up on a backer, and he had dropped that exact same pass. Those days all kind of blend together in camp the day or two before. And he got it against the Saints, and he made the catch. He jumped over the guy, and he made a splash catch, for lack of a better word. And from that point, you're like, wow. You saw him, something that he had not succeeded at before, where he did do that in a very competitive situation against another team. And that was where he kind of really started to get your attention. And then also thought to the third preseason game, we were against the Rams in the second half, he really showed up, as far as running the football.
What do you remember about 2013 when Keenan got here? Just kind of what stuck out to you about him initially and just how quickly he was able to really make an impact?
Well, I think that I remember, it was a tough stretch early. I mean, it was a transition for him, and I know what kind of player he is now, but early it was tough. And but I do remember the one thing that stands out is when we went to Philly. It was the second game of the year, and Malcolm got hurt. He got hurt on an end, and all of a sudden Keenan was thrust into having to play. So we weren't sure how he was going to handle that. And just ever since then, it's almost like somebody flipped a switch and he's been unbelievable. He had a tremendous year that first year, and obviously, we've all seen what he's done this year.
With Anthony implementing some of the things he wanted to add to the offense this year, did it take you some time to find the right run-pass balance compared to years past?
Yeah, I think any time. But there's been a lot of things that have gone on this year that have been different from the standpoint of practicing in another city and the OTAs and moving and a lot of different transition things in camp. And, every year is different. You think that you can just carry it over, but you can't, because a lot of times you have different players and there's different situations. And I think, it just took us some time to kind of get where we felt like we were getting better. Okay, thank you.